Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Arsenal Fan Circle here. It's the Sunday show, and I've got Lawrence with me today. Maybe a couple of other people dropping by. We're celebrating. We're celebrating an anniversary, Lawrence. 35 years ago, Arsenal, a young team, went to Anfield, and maybe we can tell some people who weren't even born in those days what it meant to go to Anfield at the time, Lawrence. I don't know how to equate it. Maybe it's not like going to the Etihad and winning 2-0 anymore because that Man City team, but it was bloody difficult to go to Anfield in 1989 and win a game of any sort, let alone win by 2 clear goals, which is what we needed to do. Not only to draw level on goal difference, but to win the league on goals scored, and that's how it came to be that Arsenal won I was going to say the Premier League, but yes, there was football before the Premier League. It was the Football League before the Premier League. A little bit of a history lesson here. Where's Tony now when we need a history lesson?
Probably looking for his crayons.
But tell us a little bit about that night, Lawrence, and we'll delve a little bit into the evening as well, and the year of that winning the league.
Yeah, well, I remember it as if it was yesterday because for those who were too young, I went up there, mate. I went up there. Mm-hmm. I had a ticket for the original game that was meant to be played the week after the Hillsborough tragedy.
Yep.
And unfortunately, because of what happened the week before, all the games in what was known as the First Division were cancelled as a mark of respect. So what did the TV companies do? They moved the game back to be the very last game of the season, which was on a Friday night, because the following day, England were playing Scotland in the home international championships. So anyway, I pleaded with my boss to see if I could get the day off, and he wouldn't give it to me. And I just told him bluntly, I said, look, I don't care what you say to me. I'm going to this game. You can fire me. That's the other option you've got. But there's no way I'm coming into work. I'm willing to sacrifice getting my paycheck. I'm going to this game. And for those who remember, Liverpool back then were a powerhouse. They were even better than the Liverpool team of today. They had the likes of Barnes, Rush, Beardsley, Aldridge, Hanson, Lawrenson, Ray Houghton,
Ronnie Whelan,
Bruce Grobbelaar. They were a powerhouse back then.
Yeah. And
in my opinion, a better Liverpool team than the present team.
Yes.
But anyhow, I used to go to away games with the Arsenal Supporters Club. And I remember going to St Thomas's Road, which is where the Supporters Club was located, on the corner of Avenel Road, and getting onto the coach.
Yeah.
And the coach was only half full, so the organisers decided to wait for stragglers, because there were always stragglers that would always leave it to the last minute to book their tickets. So, sorry about that. So we waited the next extra hour for any stragglers to come. Lo and behold, they came. Now, like this weekend, it was a bank holiday weekend. So by the time we set off, we were caught up in the bank holiday traffic. And I remember as the coach turned onto Holloway Road, the old Bill had stopped all the traffic. And everyone in the street on Holloway Road, if you know Holloway Road, it's a massive road. We're coming out of the shops and waving to us like it was like the final scene of a Hollywood movie. They were wishing us good luck.
Or like a cup final day, right? Back in the day, you'd have cup final.
Yeah. But it was just massive. It's just so weird, everyone out in the street waving at us, and we were stuck in the convoy of all the coaches that had our Arsenal Travel Club members. So like there was 30 coaches going up the Holloway Road. So anyway, we hit the motorway. We just got on the motorway. All of a sudden, the driver tells us he's got a problem with the coach. So we have to pull off at Watford Gap, which is a well-known service stop. So he says, look, he's got to go back to the garage to pick up another coach because there's a problem with the brake line. So there we are. There's 50 of us waiting around for the driver to come back with another coach. So we're playing football with a tennis ball in the car park, and we just lost track of time. And one of my mates says to me, "Hey, Lawrence, what's happening? We've been here for about an hour, and there's no sign of the replacement coach." So I asked one of the stewards. I said, "What's going on here? What's going on with the coach?" And they shrugged their shoulders. Said, "We've got no idea. We called the coach company. They said that the guy left with another coach. Right, he should be there by now."
Yeah.
So we're waiting and waiting, and all of a sudden we see this knackered coach that, I don't know if you remember when you used to go to school and you used to go on field trips or to the swimming bars. They used to have these old antiquated buses from the 1940s and 1950s. We had one of them. No air conditioning, no toilet, no nothing.
Yeah.
And this was the replacement coach to take us up to Anfield.
Yeah.
So anyway, we climb on this thing and we're chugging on up the motorway. Excuse me. We get up to Spaghetti Junction, which is in the Midlands. The traffic is just gridlock.
Yeah.
Nothing's moving,
Crazy.
So the driver says, "Don't worry, I know a shortcut." So he takes us, excuse me.
Yeah.
So he takes us off the motorway and we're going through this town that there's no sod around anywhere. All the streets are empty. He gets us back on the motorway. We're heading up northwest. We've hit traffic again. By now, the broadcast of the game has started because there's a bloke on the coach who's got one of them little pocket-sized TVs. He's telling us what's going on. He says, "Don't bother. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry. They've delayed the kickoff, right? We're going to get there, right?"
Right. They delayed by 15 minutes, something like that, right?
Yeah, because as I said, it was bank holiday weekend. So like
Friday.
And they said, "Look, Arsenal fans are stuck on the motorway on trains."
Yeah.
So we get up to Highton, which is on Merseyside, nowhere near Anfield. The driver gets off the motorway. All of a sudden, one of the stewards says, "Does anyone know how to get to Anfield? Because the driver's lost."
Just pull out your iPhone, right? Just pull out your iPhone and do a map.
well, this was 1989, you know. Yeah. Doesn't he have an A to Z? Doesn't he have an A to Z?
Yeah. A map.
So, so what does he do? He pulls into a supermarket parking lot and he sees this little old lady. And he's asking her for instructions. So
that's crazy.
One of my mates, Tony, nice guy, but you don't want to get on the wrong side of him. He's telling me, he says, if I miss this fucking game, this driver's not going to see tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Sounds like our Tony, Lawrence.
Yeah.
Sounds like our Tony.
Yeah. So by now the game's kicked off, and we're all huddling over this guy with his pocket TV, trying to watch the game. Right?
Wow.
We get up to Anfield, and normally when the coaches stop at Anfield, they stop off at Stanley Park, and the old Bill give you an escort to the ground. But before the old Bill could climb on the coach, we all stormed off and ran around Stanley Park to get to the stadium.
Yeah.
Only to find out that the turnstiles had all been locked up.
No way.
Yeah. So I just lost it. I just burst into tears, right? I cried my fucking eyes out.
For the first time.
And the next thing I know, this woman copper puts her arm around me and says, "Don't worry, love, we're going to get you in. We just don't want to repeat of Hillsborough. They are going to open up the turnstiles, but they've got to make space for you."
Okay. Yeah.
So we get into the stadium, and I get in just as Steve Bold missed that chance in the first half. I don't know if you remember it when he headed it, the ball. The header that got cleared off the line.
Yep.
So we we were right at the back of the pen that they used to put the fans in the far left hand corner, not where they put them now.
Yeah.
And
you would be in the position where Michael Thomas would be able to run off and celebrate forward.
It was so surreal, Ray.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like when you watch a movie and they have that bit where it starts off in normal speed and then goes into slow motion, then back into normal speed and then slow. That's how it was. Because if you remember, he missed an easy chance about 15 minutes early when he shot straight at Grobbelaar.
Yep.
Yeah.
I sometimes think, Lawrence, it was perfect that he had that chance missed, because when he came back around in a similar position, 92 minutes on the clock, he knew what he was going to do, and he was calmer. I think he had rushed that chance in 15 or 20 minutes before that. He'd rushed that chance. So let's get through a few more comments here and welcome people in the house. Reddy, greetings all. Thanks for being here, Reddy. BX Gunner, good afternoon, evening, everyone. Tony will get cooked by Alonso again, hopefully, if they turn up. Reddy enjoyed Thursday night show. The great show Thursday night, Reddy said, but it was only after about 50 minutes when Tony actually enjoyed the show or joined the show that he actually joined us. Steve McMahon and Nickel. Yeah, that team was.
Yeah, remember that.
One more minute.
Remember when Steve Nickel did that?
One more minute. Exactly. Look, we're Mr. Tom. Commiserations. I was hoping Leeds would make it in the playoff final. They have to start again, much like Arsenal do. We have to wait another year, both of us, till we're reunited in the Premier League. So, Tom, I know it's not a good day, Tom. So keep chugging that Pepsi. BX says. Commiserations, Tom. Congratulations. No congratulations to Southampton. Going to be our bogan team again. They can't be ready. We have to remember those two draws against Southampton 2 seasons ago now. Leeds will finally win and play out by the time this story is finished. Yeah, we're going to talk about more events on that night as well. BX Gunner. How is it 35 years ago? I remember it like it was yesterday, says DJG Stevens. Thanks for being here.
Yeah,
We need to get Tony and Gary and one of those coaches from Plymouth to Newcastle. That's a real road trip right there. Put the two of them together. You know what I mean?
with Wayne Rooney as the manager now. Did you hear that?
Yeah, Wayne Rooney. He's definitely enjoyed. He's definitely enjoying his punditry. He was refreshing. Talking to who was he was talking to? Mika Richards. Yeah, yesterday. We'll get into the FA Cup final. So yeah, as we mentioned, it's hard to match up eras, but that Liverpool team was not like the City team. They would lose games. Oh, okay. It's Gunnar Glenn.
But there was
not Gunnar Glenn anymore. It's DJG Stevens. So when you change handles, it's hard to pick up the loop. But I will do that, Glenn. Thank you. How the hell has Rooney got another job in company? Got Bayern. Yeah. All right. So more events on that night. We had Ronnie, as an Irishman, we had Ray Houghton, and we had Ronnie Whelan in that Liverpool team. But they had Barnes, Beardsley, right? They had a lot of high-powered teams. Grobbelaar at the back, Steve McMahon, Hansen. Go ahead.
Yeah. You know, anyone who remembers Liverpool back then, even of the 70s and 80s, they were a powerhouse. You know, they had such great players. They had a great manager as well. I hate to admit it, but Dalglish was a great manager.
Yeah.
You know, and anyone who remembers Liverpool back then, they dominated English football and European football as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, as I said, we had to win by 2 goals. And everybody was writing us off, saying Arsenal can't do it. You know, because the last team that won by 2 goals up at Anfield was Everton in '86.
And Lawrence, the lead up to this game in Anfield, you know, Liverpool were coming like a freight train, and Arsenal had 2 games. They had the weekend before this game, they played Derby County and lost 2-1. Yeah. Dean Saunders scoring a goal, a winner maybe. So it looked over and done even on that penultimate weekend. But we had another game, another fixture to fulfill against Wimbledon, who, if you remember in the 80s, Wimbledon were a notoriously difficult team to play against them.
The crazy game.
We drew 2-2. We drew 2-2 with Wimbledon at home. So we had 2 home games going to Anfield, and we only got 1 point from 6 going into the title decider. We were paddling backwards, Lawrence, at the time.
Yeah, and Nigel Winterburn scored one of the best goals at Highbury with his right foot.
Yeah.
If you remember.
To salvage right?
Yeah. But if you remember, Liverpool ran off a string of victories that enabled them to catch up with us. Because at one point we were 21 points clear of Liverpool.
Yeah.
And we had a bad patch round about mid-February, mid-March, where we couldn't get a win to save our lives. Mm-hmm. And gradually Liverpool caught up with us. And that weekend, they'd beaten Everton in the cup final. Yeah. And then they beat West Ham 5-1. That pushed their goal difference up to where we had to win by 2 clear goals.
Yeah.
And as I was saying, that Mickey Thomas goal, boy, as I said, it was like 1 minute it was real time, next minute it felt like slow motion, then back to real time. And I'm yelling at him, I said, fucking hit it, you know. And he didn't actually hit it. He sort of scooped it over Grobbelaar's leg. Yeah. Because if you look at a close-up, it was that close to hitting Grobbelaar's leg.
Yeah.
Because the way the ball was running, he should have really hit the shot with his left foot rather than the outside of his right foot.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like that brief 10-second pause because nobody had realised it had gone in the net. And then we just went absolutely mental. And I got pushed down to the front of the pen.
No.
I was with my mates at the back of the pen. And the force of everyone celebrating and jumping up and down had made me come down to the front of the fence in like 10 seconds. And it was just unbelievable. You know, and those last 15, 20 seconds where we're screaming for the ref to blow the final whistle.
Yeah.
And it just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And you say we've seen a lot of people have seen the replays. It's slowed down. John Barnes is trying to dribble into the corner. He gets dispossessed. Those point at that time you could pass it back to the goalkeeper. So we got the ball back, passed it back to John Lucas. He picks it up and throws the ball out to, I think, Lee Dixon. And then Lee Dixon hits a long ball into Alan Smith. Alan Smith takes perfect control on it around the midfield and chests it down. Hits it towards Thomas coming through the middle with McMahon there, you know. And there's a ricochet, Lawrence, isn't there, off Stevie McMahon?
Yeah, I mean the ball Lee Dixon laid off to Alan Smith. The ball that Lee Dixon laid off to Alan Smith was so difficult because Alan Smith had to kind of
shield
raise his leg to try and control the ball, shield it, and then lay the ball off. And it hit Michael Thomas, and then I think it was Steve Nicol. It came off, and it fell nicely for Thomas, who ran through to score. Yeah, and the thing is, he's had Grobler saved it the other way. The ball was going to fall to Nigel Winterburn for the rebound.
Yeah, we see Nigel Winterburn. But, what I love about it as well is you're right. Mickey Thomas hits it on the right outside of his right foot, scoops it over the leg of Grobler. Just as I think Ray Houghton, I think one of those players is trying to get back and tackle him. And Liverpool players on a heap on the ground, and Michael Thomas falls on a heap on the ground, but he does this wonderful fish action to get himself back up on the pitch after scoring that goal, and away we go celebrating. Winterburn's bursting through from the left after the goal scored. Winterburn, I think, was Winterburn probably one of the first players to get to Michael Thomas and get to the corner flag and
there was him. No, I think it was Martin Hayes. Hayes picked him up off the floor. Nigel Winterburn was running towards the Arsenal fans to celebrate. Nigel Winterburn had already gone.
He's gone crazy at this point, right? He's lost all his senses of himself, right?
Yeah. And I don't know if you've heard how Lee Dixon described the atmosphere, because Lee Dixon said he was crying.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't. He said he was bawling his eyes out while he was playing the game when Michael Thomas done the business.
Yeah.
And he said he couldn't even see what ahead of him. But it was just a weird way how that goal panned out, because like you said, John Barnes could have played it, gone to the corner and held on to the ball. But he decided to go towards goal, and Kevin Richardson, the unsung hero of that team, robbed him of the ball.
Okay.
And played it back to Lukic, who who like normally would have punted the ball downfield, but decided to bowl it out to Lee Dixon.
Yeah, isn't it crazy how things work out?
It was just unbelievable.
I mean, what it took was Lawrence. What it took was, I think, John Barnes, a flair player for Liverpool, who had been, scoring goals up and down the country for fun, and because he's a flair player, he maybe didn't understand the consequence or the weight of him having possession at the last seconds of injury time. And he didn't think about it. He was always thinking about going to score a second goal, or get a goal back, make it 1-1. You know what I mean? Maybe he was thinking about making it 1-1.
Yeah.
And because he's a flair player, he gets
Yeah.
dispossessed. Maybe, and again, like you said, John Lukic, who Arsenal did like to go long to Alan Smith a lot that season. John Lukic didn't even think about that, but maybe Lee Dixon was calling for the ball, and he heard that first. So it's really strange how things happen, and we see a lot about the documentary, Lawrence, where some of the players were saying George Graham, maybe George Graham got lucky in what he said, what he told the players would happen. Keep it tight. I think Tony Adams said, keep it tight. We'll go in 0-0 in the halftime. Keep it tight, keep it clean, go in 0-0. And George Graham actually told them, if we can nick a goal early doors, second half, everything can get a little bit tense and squeaky bum time, like Alec Ferguson called it. And that's exactly what happened. We could nick a goal right at the death, close to the end, based off of the nervousness of Liverpool. So, but it all came about then. I mean, the second goal wouldn't mean anything without the first as well. So, David Rocastle, rest in peace, Rocky Rocastle, earning a free kick. I think it was against Ronnie Whelan, and in the 52nd minute, and a perfect free kick played in to Smudger Smith, and got the faintest of touches on that one, Lawrence.
Yeah, and if you remember, right, the Liverpool players put pressure on the referee and linesman to disallow the goal because they were trying to convince them that the ball had gone directly in, where you could see a fucking piece of mud in the centre of Alan Smith's head where he headed the ball.
Yeah.
And they're trying to convince the referee he went directly in.
You gotta do everything you can as a professional footballer to influence the referee. We know that, but
but come on.
Thankfully the referee thankfully the referee was strong in that situation, As Len said,
I mean, like X marks the spot. I mean,
but in the course of that league campaign, Arsenal had crossed swords with Liverpool a couple of times. One of them in the League Cup with Rocky Rocastle scoring up there at Anfield, and in the opposing league game, Alan Smith equalising quite a scrappy goal, but getting a 1-1 equaliser with Liverpool. That's the kind of thing, Lawrence, that gave them hope that they could hang with Liverpool. They'd drawn a couple of games with them. They were not. You wouldn't seem inferior to Liverpool then, based off of those two results. And I think those were very important. Looking back at it now, after 35 years.
Yeah, we had beaten them in what was it called? The Mercantile Credit Cup game at Highbury.
Yeah.
Where Brian Marwood scored an absolute worldie. From about 25 yards. And then when we played them in the League Cup up at Anfield, we played them off the park. I mean, they only had one shot on target, went in. Brian Marwood missed like 4 sitters in that League Cup game up at Anfield. I mean, Rocky scored a brilliant goal. But we should have won that game. And we drew the second game 0-0. And then we had to go to Villa Park, where they beat us 2-1.
Yeah.
Where we didn't play well at all, I've got to admit.
We went ahead, though, through Merson, I think, at the time. Paul Merson.
Yeah, Merson. Yeah, but they scored 2 late goals.
Well, Lawrence, I think that's important, though, to, as a young team, which George Graham had at the time, he acquired Alan Smith. He acquired a few players. Brian Marwood came in from Sheffield Wednesday. and those players really helped the younger players along as well. Tony Adams, pretty young at the time as well, growing the whole time.
Yeah.
I think that you will always see that through the history of football, a young team growing, gaining confidence, gaining results against the bigger team, and eventually being able to overcome them in the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, yeah,
well,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, you go ahead. Yeah.
No, and then Liverpool would come back next year, the next season, and win again. But then they would have to wait 30 years, you know. So Liverpool had to wait 30 years from 1990 to 2020 before they got their Premier League again, before they would win in the league. This Arsenal team would grow again the season after that, and arguably a team that doesn't get mentioned as much as maybe the Anfield because of the drama at Anfield. But in fact, the 1990-91 Arsenal team was probably in many ways a better team. Only lost the one game the whole season at Chelsea.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We should have won that game as well.
Yeah.
I still tell people disagree with this, but I reckon that team of 1991 would beat the Invincibles.
Ooh. Yeah, interesting.
Anders Limpar, you remember Anders Limpar?
Yeah. Well, we only conceded 18 goals that season as well. David Seaman.
Was it? I think it was 16, but yeah,
I think it was 18.
But, yeah,
but still, it would be that defense against Thierry Henry and Bergkamp and Lundberg and Perez. I maybe disagree with you on that one as well. I will go and disagree with you. I think the Invincibles will probably beating that team, but that's the issue you have when you try to stack eras against each other. And but 35 years ago, you were there live watching it. 35 years ago, I had to work. One of my first jobs when I was a teenager, I had to work that Friday night. Mm-hmm. I actually thought, I didn't have much hope for us. I went to bed that night without knowing the result, and came home, went to bed because I was working an evening shift. Went to bed and woke up the next morning to Saturday grandstand. I think it was something like that. Des Lynam and the like.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize till about noon the next day that Arsenal had won the league. So there you go.
You didn't see it live, or?
I didn't see it live. No, I was at work.
No. Oh, okay.
I was at work. So.
Okay.
And it was from that point on, Lawrence, that I told myself I would never feel like Arsenal couldn't win something against the odds, because that team had proved it to me. You know what I mean? And so with George Graham, we would go forward, as you said, in 1991, win another league title, 2 and 3 years. Go on to win 2 cup competitions when we were not a good team in the league. We'd win the FA Cup and the Littlewoods, I guess it was called at the time, against both opponents being Sheffield Wednesday. Ian Wright coming to the fore now in 1992. And we'd go, of course, have that night in Copenhagen, right? Where,
another great night.
Cup Winners' Cup in 1994.
I was there in Copenhagen as well. Another fantastic night.
Another one against two performances at Anfield and Copenhagen against the odds, Lawrence. Because I don't know, a lot of people may not know this, but that team was stacked full of fantastic international players. They had Asprilla, they had Brolin, they had many, many other players, and we were probably not favorites in that final.
They absolutely battered us. Remember, they hit the post before we scored. Yeah, they had all these great players. You mentioned Brolin, Asprilla, Zola. And we were the underdogs. And if you remember, most of our first team were out, suspended or injured. So we had to rely on the kids,
Yeah.
But another great night. It was like they had taken the whole of North London and dumped it in Copenhagen.
So yeah, I mean that was the George Graham years, and then we had a funny year where forget the guy's name though. The Bolton manager, he came in, and forget his name because it was a transitional year. Reich, Bruce Reich.
Stuart Houston.
It was Bruce Reich or something. Bruce
Rioch. Bruce Rioch. Yeah.
There you go. Bruce Rioch. Ian Wright didn't get along with him. Didn't last too long, and then a certain man from a French-speaking manager came along, known as Arsene Wenger from Grampus 8 in Japan, former Monaco manager, and Arsene Wenger came along. The first 10, 12 years of Arsene Wenger were amazing. So 35 years ago, we won at Anfield, and 20 years ago, we won the Premier League after quite a few. Arsene Wenger's third Premier League in 2004, the Invincibles we mentioned 20 years ago, Lawrence. So, yeah, you were mentioning that Invincible team, Lawrence.
Yeah. Well, 35 years ago, I forgot to mention this, Ray. I call it the weekend of my life because after the game, they kept us in the pen for like half an hour before they let us out. And as I said, when you come out of Anfield, you have to walk around Stanley Park to pick up the coaches.
Yeah.
And the old Bill had called us off from the Liverpool fans. And there's me and my mates, we're jumping up and down and we're enjoying it. All of a sudden, this geezer comes out of nowhere, tattoos everywhere, comes up, gets in my face. And I'm thinking, oh, shit, I'm going to be in the hospital tonight. He shakes my hand and he says, well done, mate, you deserved it. I mean, my jaw literally dropped.
Well, fair play, yeah.
Can't believe. And it just shows you, I mean, everyone gives the Scousers a bad name, of what they're supposed to be like. But for this guy to come up to me and shake my hand and say, well done, mate, you deserved it, after what him and these other Liverpool fans went through up at Hillsborough, it was just unbelievable. Anyway, But we got back on the coach. We got to cut a long story short, because I'm sure you don't want to hear about the return trip.
No, let's not do the coach ride home.
Okay. Well, anyway, we got back to London outside the Arsenal Supporters Club around about 3 o'clock in the morning. They opened up the bar. We're having a good time. All of a sudden, Theo Foley walks in, and everyone's buying him drinks. There's one poor sod lying underneath the pool table, passed out. Apparently, he missed the whole game. He got well liquored up, and he missed the whole game. And I shook Theo Foley's hand, and I said, "Thank you, Theo. This is the best night of my life that you and George have done for me."
Yeah.
He says, "Well, I've got to go because I've got to be at TVAM, which was the breakfast news show back then, because I'm being interviewed for there." And me and my mates, we basically stayed in the area because there was, as I said, England were playing Scotland in the home internationals. We were getting well liquored up. We gate crashed a party at the supporters club after that. We crashed out at the supporters club. We woke up again. It was Sunday morning. We went up to Islington Town Hall to watch the team bring the trophy back on the bus.
Yeah.
And then we went back to the pub, continued boozing. and we started dancing in the street. All of a sudden, this car comes up, and we stop it, and we start doing a conga around this car. Inside the car is Brian Marwood, Kevin Richardson, and their wives. Brian Marwood comes out of the car, jumps on the roof, and starts orchestrating us, while Kevin Richardson and the two girls are absolutely bricking it.
Oh, this is great story. Great stories, Lawrence, of the day and the day after. You know, as Glenn said, didn't he buy Dennis Bergkamp? Yeah, Bruce Rioch did buy Dennis Bergkamp, which, you know, initiated another chapter in the evolution of Arsenal. You know, if George Graham years were good in the 90s, Dennis Bergkamp would introduce a new kind of football to us in the 10 years that he played with us. You know what I mean?
Isn't it a shame the way it ended for George Graham at Arsenal?
It is.
It is.
And,
you know,
I can only stack up against what's happening right now in the present game versus what happened to George Graham. And, you know, if George Graham, unfortunately, if he's guilty, he had to take his medicine. If he's guilty, take his punishment. I hope in modern football that those who are transgressing, those who are doing things illegally, get caught and get sanctioned in a similar fashion. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, he did something improper as well, though, Lawrence, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a shame how his story ended with Arsenal.
Yeah, true. You know, I mean, I'm so grateful to George Graham for what he did for the club as a player. And I was a bit apprehensive when he got the manager's job because his previous management experience was at Millwall.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a bit concerned how he was going to bring success to Arsenal, but he made me eat my words.
Right. Were you just worried about that because it was a lower division that he'd been managing in at Millwall?
Yeah.
That was your concern. Okay.
That was my concern.
Kind of cut his teeth there, you know what I mean?
Because at the time we were being linked with Terry Venables and who was the other one? There was someone, I think Alex Ferguson. I think David Dean wanted to bring Alex Ferguson to Arsenal.
Yeah. Now, I came along to Arsenal when that young team was really firing. I think it was probably the season they won the Littlewoods Cup. They were going very well in the league around January, February. That's when I started to follow the Arsenal and had that wonderful experience of beating Liverpool as well in the Littlewoods Cup final at a time when if Ian Rush scored, they weren't losing games. Well, that's what happened. Ian Rush scored and they lost. And Arsenal did that to Liverpool with Charlie Nicholas.
Charlie Nicholas, yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so 20 years ago we were invincible. We had Dennis Bergkamp, we had Thierry Henry that Arsene Wenger brought to the club. Wonderful career both of them had at Arsenal, winning 3 Premier Leagues, and we went invincible in that season 2003 2004 with some amazing football. Of course, maybe leave it in the comments if you're watching this on playback if you think Lawrence is correct that 91 team would beat the invincible team, or if you feel the invincible team would be better than the 91. It's always an interesting conversation. But you know what, we had built, that invincible team was not really a young team, Lawrence. It was a team in its prime, right? So maybe look at the team in 1989 and understand there was young players who came through and achieved greatness, whereas in 2004 and Invincibles, that team had been together for a few years and they actually achieved what is very difficult to do right now in modern football and be unbeaten for a full season.
Yeah. It's different eras, but
yeah, and George Graham going to the Spuds was a difficult one to swallow, right?
Yeah, I know. That's what gutted me. But you know what? The thing, just talking, changing the subject.
Yeah,
Tottenham's only success was when he helped them win the League Cup in '99.
2009, right? Something like, was it 99?
No,
okay,
99. They beat Leicester.
They won the Audi. They won the Audi Cup. You have to mention that, Lawrence.
Oh wow! Yeah, oh wow! I take it back.
But isn't that interesting?
And the Tiger Cup.
I mean, I never really thought about Lawrence, but they needed an Arsenal man to win them something.
Yeah,
and they haven't won anything since. So that's Tottenham in a nutshell.
And they flew the other week. Last week, they flew 10,500 miles to play a friendly against Newcastle and got battered by them.
All right.
No club.
We talked about anything else about the 2004 team. I mean, we all know what they did.
Yeah.
Invincibles, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was, true. It was a great side, to go an entire league season without losing a game. I don't think anyone will ever do that. Not even Liverpool or Man City will ever achieve that. Yeah. We sort of took our foot off the pedal after we won it. We were drawing games that we should have won.
Yeah.
But can't take it away to win 26 and draw 12 out 38 games.
Yeah.
I mean, I have people say, well, Chelsea knocked you out the Champions League and Middlesbrough knocked you out the League Cup. Mm-hmm. And you got knocked out by Man United. You're not that invincible. I says that wasn't part of the invincible season. Those were knockout games.
Yeah,
38 league games, not one defeat.
Yeah, 100%. Now that brings us up to modern day football, Lawrence, and the question. We're going to talk about the FA Cup final yesterday and what that means for football, right? And Arsenal did it 4 years ago. Mikel Arteta took a team. 6 months into that project, that Mikel Arteta, with Unai Emery players, right? He didn't have the chance to bring in his own players at the time, but he went and he managed a side to win an FA Cup final, beating Man City in the semi-final, and Man City being the team that they were in 2020. They were a pretty decent team, and beating Chelsea in the final. What does that mean now when you hear people talking about your season, Lawrence? So we're going to get into some uncomfortable parts of the podcast here. What does it mean for you if, say, Manchester United fans are saying they had a good season now because they won the FA Cup yesterday?
Well, they have, because they won a trophy. This is what I was saying last week. We haven't won anything. And someone brought it up on Facebook that Erik ten Hag has won more trophies than Mikel Arteta.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mikel and ten Hag is supposed to be facing the sack now.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what I don't get. I look at it. I look at the whole thing. I don't look at, Mikel Arteta played for Arsenal. He's taken us in the right direction, but he's only won one trophy in 4 years. I haven't, what I've seen of Mikel Arteta, we're going in the right direction, but he's sacrificing cup games in order to make us a better team in the league itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like that. This is what I keep telling people. People seem to think we're Arteta FC. Okay? No one is bigger than the club. Nobody. I keep saying this. Nobody's bigger than Arsenal FC. When we've all gone, Arsenal Football Club will still be around.
Yeah.
And I don't care who the manager is, who the players are. If we do not end up with silverware, be it the Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, League Cup, if we don't have any silverware, then that's failure to me. I said all along that if Mikel Arteta does not get us a trophy by the end of this season, then he has to go, okay? I don't want to keep going through this every season where we're in the running and we blow it in the last month of the season. I don't want us to be sacrificing domestic cup games for no reason. I don't want to see Arsenal playing a Tottenham kit in the FA Cup third round like we've done over the last 3 years.
Well, come on. It wasn't a Tottenham kit. It was white for a reason, okay?
Yeah.
All right, let's not get bogged down. Yeah, let's not get bogged down in that white color of that kit. Okay, I'll come back at you. You said you look at everything, right? And Manchester United have won a cup. Yeah. But if you look at everything as a Manchester United supporter, you must realize that your league campaign was horrible. Absolutely horrible.
But everyone forget. But I watched the Manchester United fans watch-alongs for yesterday's game, and all of them wanted Ten Hag out.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, they all said, we can't let him go. He's won us the cup.
All right, so this is a great conversation. This is a great conversation. If you're a Manchester United fan right now, where do any of us go, Lawrence? You've got Ten Hag, who's won you two cups in 2 seasons. Do you stick with Ten Hag in the hopes that he's going to get the team better and do more and win more competitions, cups or leagues? Or do you say, thank you very much, but our standard is higher and we've had the worst league campaign in our history?
I watched Ten Hag's interview with the BBC, and he said the reason they won the game is he was able to select from a full strength squad for the first time. He said they've had so many injuries during the season, and they've had to put square pegs into round holes.
Yeah,
to get a team out.
Yep.
Right. It explains why they had a shit season. But he said yesterday he was able to select his proper first 11. And he says if they had that proper first 11 for most of the season, they wouldn't have been in the situation that they were in. So it swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So Gary has joined. Gary always joins. Anytime Gary joins is a good time. All right.
Gary, I don't think that was your first thought. I don't think that was your first thought.
No, my first thought was Gary has joined at a good time. That was my thought.
Oh, you know what? I was listening to you guys. I was thinking to myself, I don't know if I can contribute to whatever you're talking about because I never saw it.
Well, we're past that now. We're past the history part. I sent you a YouTube link that you could have watched.
No, I know, but you know what? I don't feel like I can watch something. I don't have good memory to begin with. So me to watch it and then be able to come in here and have a constructive discussion, and you guys call me out on everything I get wrong.
I'm not going to call you out.
Lawrence would.
Lawrence started supporting Arsenal before I did.
No.
Never.
Nah, I was listening to it. It was good. It was a good conversation. That's for sure. Yeah.
Well, I think the parallels are interesting, Gary. When you have a young team, back then, 1988, 89, and even before that, they won a cup competition in the Little Woods Cup, and they went on. They realized they could compete with Liverpool in those games leading up to the Anfield game because they'd drawn a league game. They had dallied with them in the cup competition. and then that gives you a grounding behind where you can compete. Now take this forward, Gary, into Manchester City, where we had that game a couple of seasons ago, New Year's Day against City. We actually beat the hell out of them, but we lost 2-1.
Yep.
And since then, we've gone on and competed with them
Yeah.
with mixed results, right? But
We've
that gives Arsenal.
never been able to recreate that first half.
I thought we played well against them at the Emirates.
Not like that.
This season.
If you remember, they were pulling their hair out. They were screaming at each other. We had them on ropes, man.
Yeah.
We had them on ropes.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when I was like, look, it can be done. You got to be able to put it together for 90 minutes, but it can be done.
All right, so we'll get into more of that, Gary. That was just a flavor of what we want to go into next is the Arsenal forging forward against City. But talk to me a little bit about Man United and what not that we care, right? We don't care about Ten Hag. We don't care about Ineos. We don't care about Manchester United. I, in fact, want whatever they're going to pick, I want it to not work for them. But they're in a quandary right now, Gary. He's just won an FA Cup for them. But, okay, injuries have been a factor, as Lauren said. But Ineos are in a tough situation right now. They have to make a decision on the future of Ten Hag and what direction they're going to go in.
Very true. Very true. You can't make. That's why you probably should have held back on that decision.
Can I just say?
You know, it doesn't even matter if he had won or not. But their decision, like now, it looks a little like for if you're all about marketing and all of that stuff, then yes, it looks kind of it's poor timing to fire him anytime after this, right? So he went from the lowest. He went from the lowest trophy you can win to the next one.
Yeah.
So if you're trending, you're like, this is what we want. You want to see your team trending, right? Getting better each season. Well, as poor as they have been, they keep winning a trophy, and not that I think a Premier League is that easy to get next season, but you need to build on it. And when at a time not to to build on something when you win trophies back-to-back seasons. This is where I kind of felt like Arsenal didn't get the same bump when Arteta got that FA Cup, because this is what you want. You want to be able to, build on it. But I kind of feel like they have, whatever decision they were going to make before, should be the same decision they make after.
So I have a theory on this, and the announcement of they haven't sacked him. They haven't announced they were going to sack him, right? I'm not sure even know what they're doing, but that announcement might have rallied the players in the dressing room behind Ten Hag, and we saw the trophy presentation. They really wanted to give the trophy to Ten Hag so he could have his moment up there in the Wembley gantry. So I'm wondering if the players behind Ten Hag. It does look that way, right?
Well, you would think you go through a little bit of adversity, they would back up their manager, right? That's what teams do. That are, that's when you say you've got all your players along with you, like you've got the soccer room on your side, right?
Yeah.
And how many times have we looked at United and gone, they've just given up on this guy, right? They're just giving up on this guy, and you know what? The football gods kept giving him chances over and over and over again. I would like to say Arsenal's not been that lucky. I mean, right? As far as the way the games have gone for them, they've not been good, and they still keep getting wins. How is that? We play poorly, and not as much as them, and we don't get that lucky win. It gives us what we want, right? We wanted to go into the last game of the season with a chance to win it, and we had one chance, and we didn't get lucky in there. So it's a little bit disheartening when you think about it. Liverpool have grabbed the Carabao Cup, Man United have grabbed an FA Cup, and we weren't able to overcome Man City in the league, where a kick of the ball either way would have swung it in our direction. Maybe not either way, but we all think about what could have been. Glenn said Thomas Tuchel turned down staying at Bayern for a reason, and he is going to United.
Mark my words. So, yeah, just as a final punctuation point, Gary, what do we think is going to happen at United? It's very difficult. It's a difficult question. It could go either way. If they stick with Ten Hag, they could progress in the league with fit players and no injuries. Or if they change course, it could go either way as well. So impossible to know.
Like I said, that decision hopefully has been made before the result of this game. But he hasn't. I don't think he's done what he said what he's actually probably told them he was going to do. I don't think he has. So I kind of feel like, you know what? Is that his fault, your fault, combination, whatever? But I could see them easily saying, it's time for you to go.
Mhm.
Right? I mean, I think that's what I think they should do based on the way things have gone. Like if that news is getting out there, I think sometimes there's no smoke without fire, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like that message somehow has gotten out there, and it's usually the truth. Turning your back and then it failing, what happens then? All right. If you had planned to let him go, news got out, and then you back up, then you're just as bad as him coming in saying, you know what, I don't plan to coach my team the way I have at Ajax for the years that I've been there. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
proper football and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like, yeah, no, I think they should move on if they had planned to do that beforehand. It's just so lucky that he did get 2 trophies in his stay.
And where do we stand then? I'll go to Lawrence and then Gary. So Lawrence, where do we stand on? I kind of asked you this question already, but does winning the cup salvage your season in Ten Hag's case, in Manchester United case? Did it salvage their season?
I think so. Yeah, because he's won them a trophy.
Yeah.
I mean, the saving grace for us, Ray, is we're not going to be in the Community Shield next season.
Yes.
So
I think that's a good thing.
But
I definitely think that's a good thing as well. You know what I mean? 2 things. I didn't want Man City to win yesterday. I'm done. If I ever did this, I'm done doing it. The tribalism of wanting Man City to win over another team. I don't think I've ever done it really, because I don't really like everything that Man City represents. So I'm going to support a Man United over Man City because of who Man City are. It just hurts that these other teams are getting another trophy in their cabinet, and Arsenal need to start doing that very soon. And we'll be talking about that through the summer. But Gary, go ahead.
Now, I was just going to say, it goes into my thinking that you don't get to choose which trophy you might win. You get 4 tries at it. You got to try to win all 4, because you never know which one is actually going to be the one. I think Manchester United may have been playing the best they could under the circumstances, and took advantage when it was given to them. Right?
Yeah.
We beat Liverpool when they bring on their youngsters. Who knows where we go with that? Right?
Yeah. If we win that 3rd round, the FA Cup game against Liverpool, we got Old Trafford, and who knows what happens? Because then it's either us or United.
And then West Ham, should they be able to beat us with some of our backups on the pitch? They shouldn't. We should be like we're playing backups that have been under Arteta's system. We're not playing backups that are new to Arteta ball. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like they've been practicing under this, so that's where there's depth, but then there's also what are you coaching and manage? How are you coaching and managing these players? They shouldn't be taking a significant back step in their play when they come on. You know what I mean? Because they've been like if it's a new player, I'll say okay, I get it. But these are seasoned players underneath Arteta's reign. All right, they've been coached up by him, so that's where there's problems with the depth and stuff, and that's on Arteta. I think that we don't seem to play a certain way when we go to our bench, and that can't be.
Yeah, and hopefully we can address that this summer as well, Gary. There's 7 or 8 players I went
Did you
through the
know,
list
Ray?
again. There's 7 or 8 players that need moving out on and bringing either transfers in or academy players. There, I said it, academy players, because we need to do a couple of those. Lawrence, what have you got?
Yeah. Did you know that there's a 116th charge against Manchester
Yeah.
City?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know if you remember the story when I think it was Michael Oliver flew out to officiate a game in Saudi Arabia
Yep.
last year. Okay, and he got paid.
More than once.
Can't remember the amount.
20,000.
More than once, right?
More.
Apparently, that the league in Saudi Arabia is owned by the guy who owns Manchester City.
Mm-hmm. Conflict of interest, right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how can you take a Man City game, which he took several of them in this season, and officiate with impartiality and clarity? And I'm thinking about Doku on McAllister, which could have swung things in our way. Bandam 14us, why you never talk about 115 charges? This is a real issue in our sport that we all love. We do talk about it. We have never not talked about it. But do you want to bang your head against the wall every 3 days? Every time you have a podcast, Gary, do you want to bang your head against the wall?
I know this is a poor comparison, but I always bring up those 115 charges are like a white Bronco with 20 police officers behind it. You know, it's just it's a joke. And you know what, are they taking it seriously? No. Is it going to be one of these if the glove don't fit it, it's not a fit? You know, if the infractions don't fit, then you must acquit kind of thing. You know what I mean? I don't. They're making changes in preparation for based on what's happening. All right. FA does not. They're not taking this seriously. They spent how long on this? If they really wanted to punish them, they would have done it by now. Because guess what? Nottingham Forest and Everton have been punished for it. Even Leicester City has been punished for it, and they're not even in the league, right? So I kind of felt like, you know what? If they really want to do something, they would have done it by now. They don't want to do anything because it messes up their brand, and I think that's the problem. It messes up their brand.
I think it's a case that they want to finish the investigation on each charge against Manchester City. I don't think they've completed their investion on all the charges they want.
How many years has this been? They've been collecting stuff for how many years now? We're not. This thing is so old.
Many years.
A lot of the players aren't even there anymore.
At
some point, you're punishing the wrong people, right?
I can see
like
both
Carlin
of your
has
points.
nothing to do with any of this, right?
Yeah.
But he's going to get punished for it. I mean, that's why they think about this. Like I said, Nottingham Forest, who just came into the league, is getting punished. Manchester United City has been in this league for a lot longer than them, right?
Yeah.
Everton was on the way out a couple years ago, still here, hovering, right? So if they really wanted to do something, they've done it by now. And guess what? It's probably not going to happen the way we want, because I don't feel like they care. They want to. They don't want it.
The news broke not last February, February of last year, and here we are in May of the following year, 16 months later. Yeah. So I definitely want it handled yesterday. I can see both sides. They're trying to gather together a watertight case, but it has been mentioned in October. The charges will be heard in October, and it will stretch till June of next year.
What's the point of that? Like some of the infractions aren't things that are things that you don't have to spend a year figuring out. Did they not provide the necessary documentation on time? That doesn't require lawyers to go back and forth. Like you asked for it and said, I need to have it on this said date. You don't get it, or they hold it.
Maybe.
Guess what? So that's why I think a lot of it's a joke, is because you know what? You don't need to go to court for those things. Figuring out where the money came from and all of that, I get it. But some of the procedural things that are out there, like cutting the grass, that's an easy one. Did they cut it or not? All right. If they, there's no like what. No, if you actually get to the point where you're saying you didn't cut your grass, you must have some proof, maybe a picture. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Where they ask for information about their financial records in any given year? Yes. Where they refused to
Access to
access to them?
yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So then that right there is an easy punishment.
Cut and
Dock them
dry.
5 points, dock them 10 points. They can go and get it reviewed. It gets knocked down to 5. You at least got a punishment out of it. Then you move on to the
I
next one.
would, but I
Come
would
on.
hate to do that. I would hate to do that in a sense where if they get deducted 8 points, they could reclaim those 8 points very quickly within the season. I would like to
Let them. But you know
accumulate
how many times you're going
everything.
to do that over the course of a season?
I
Say
would
you
like
do
to.
that 20 times, and you're going to recover all 40 points.
Yeah,
All
I don't
right?
want that to happen, right?
No, but what I'm saying is that's where, you know what? You have to actually show that you're going to follow through. Right now, they're just playing chicken, right? We're going to
Yeah.
punish you if you do, based on what we found. Based on what you found, we're going to punish you, but they're not. They're not. They're not.
Steven said there's always
It's
next season. Working right now, so just listen in. Thanks for being here, Steven. Hope everyone's good. Hope Mr. Tom hasn't given up all hope.
Yeah.
Listen, it's a dark, and maybe not. The word is not right. I mean, it's a bad day. It's a bad football day for Mr. Tom. But football should be the most important of our least important things that we worry about. Lawrence.
I mean, Gary says it's like a white Bronco being chased by half the LAPD.
Yeah.
I would use the term it's like the next US president being found guilty of all these charges against him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are
they
indeed.
going to punish them? Nobody expects them to, right? So.
All I will say is the bookies don't often get things wrong, and the odds for Man City being relegated are pretty short.
Yeah, 25-1.
Yeah.
But that's just in an area, Lawrence, where they're not 100% sure, but they're willing to cover themselves.
Just think, Arsenal's like 2,000-1. So if Arsenal's 2,000-1 and City's 25-1,
they're 10 times more likely to get relegated. Right?
I mean, that's what they're saying. So, I you know what? Like I said, I kind of feel this is a joke. I don't think that
bad dream, Gary.
FA's not taking this seriously, just like they're not taking how they handle VAR seriously. All right. They don't.
I think in one sense. In one sense, I want to believe they're taking it seriously, Gary. In one sense, because the guy doesn't go to the Etihad to present the trophy on Sunday. He goes to safe ground at the Emirates, where hopefully Arsenal don't have any skeletons in the
if they do their job, and if they have failed to do what they're what they've been what the rules are,
mandated,
and they get punished by it, then you wouldn't even have to deal with that, right?
Yeah,
that's all marketing what they did there, right? They put it's all marketing, it's all for show. It's not actually. There's no substance to it.
And
at the end of the day, they won anyways.
We've had some people mention in the media, but it's not each and every time you hear something about Man City, they always talk about the beautiful football they have on the field. Well, guess what? If you have a squad of 25 players who are top notch because you've been able to afford to pay them the wages to sit on the bench and to cycle through those 25 players, because let's face it, you give Pep the tools, Pep is going to bring it home if he has the 100% of all of those 25 players. And how did you pay those players? Was it legally? Was it illegally? It's all to be determined. Matt said, afternoon, gents. Yesterday highlights why Cup should be taken seriously. And next year, there are no excuses. I'm definitely liable to feel that way. Next year, there has to be no excuses because we're watching Liverpool pick up silverware, Man United and Man City pick up silverware. And it's got to be our turn, and it's got to come soon.
Winning begets winning, as far as I'm concerned, right? If you score a goal, guess what? You want to score another goal. And guess what? You want to score another goal after that. That's how it works, right? Teams win a trophy. Guess what? They want to win another one. That's how you get to the point where you're talking about doubles and triples and quads and all of that, because you want to play and win everything that you want to win every game. That's how it works.
So is it? Do you see, Gary? Do you see a diagram, of progress for Arsenal going upwards, and do you see a diagram of Man City progress slowing and going slightly downwards, or
You said
pla-
United.
Man or City? I meant City plateauing. Are they
Always,
plateauing? They
we've
did
been
it
seeing them.
trouble.
They've kind of been dipping over the years. Some of it's been players leaving, and some of it's like where they are today, right? They went, they kind of. I think they're kind of always winning 2 trophies every season. And this one was a little close, right? A little closer than others. Um, so yeah, they're not as good, but guess what? They're like I talk about all the time. There's levels to this thing, right?
Yeah.
Their levels are so high compared to others that even in a dip, in a dip year and a poor year for them, they're coming back to you, but they're so high up that you know what? If you make a slip, like teams have done, like there's been twice this season that cities said, "Go, take the league away from us," and guess what? Twice, Liverpool and Arsenal failed to do it.
Hmm. Yeah,
Twice.
they
Like they
dared.
went away,
They
they went
dared
away,
us.
they
Yeah.
went away, and came back to not much difference in points when they went away for
World
the cups that they were playing for, right?
the
Come
club
back,
championship.
they
Yeah.
lose a match early in the weekend. Teams need to respond, and they haven't. So that's on Arsenal and Liverpool. Reason why, right? So, like last season, what did I say? We need to go into that City match having have won most of those games. What do?
Yeah.
We drop
We
points in three
dropped
straight.
points
All right, you can't do.
against Southampton, West Ham, and Liverpool. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do that. You got to
Um,
you gotta we could last season we could have lost to them twice. It didn't matter. All right. I mean, you gotta win the games you're supposed to win.
what happened? What happened to City yesterday? Were they arrogant? Was Man United better than them?
Yeah.
You know what happened in that game yesterday? Is
Well,
there
they
cracks?
got off to a good start. They should have had a penalty in the first. They should have had a penalty in the first minute, and then it was just United after that. They
That was
played the
soft
long
though.
ball.
I feel
You
like
know
they
that
rely a lot on
what?
asking for penalties. Man City do. We had a video of
Yeah,
Foden falling over later in the game. He was it was an arm in the back. It was a push to the center of his back, but he falls over in a dramatic fashion, looking for a penalty. I think I think City have gotten a lot of those calls recently, but I do
I
see some cracks in the
I
Man
didn't even
City armor. Go ahead.
I didn't even realise De Bruyne and Haaland were playing because they were just marked out of the game.
Yeah,
They didn't contribute anything. Well, I mean, Haaland hit the crossbar in the second half, but what else did he do?
not much else. Yeah. I saw a video this morning where they kind of explained Ten Hag's tactics, and he boxed out midfield. He blocked up midfield so that Kevin De Bruyne and Foden and Haaland couldn't get on the ball. And he basically left Gvardiol and Walker, the fullbacks, to be the creative sources for City. And I think there was a lot of sense was made to me about the tactics that Ten Hag had to minimize City. So, I Pep later said it wasn't the best team did not win on the day. That the tactics that he set forward were not the right tactics for his players. But I do think the City team is slowing down a little bit. Haaland, a player who what did he score? 50 goals last season. And he scored what 30 this season, but he's definitely slowed down. I think a lot of the better teams have figured Man City out. Man City won the league off of the basis of beating the middle to bottom teams in the league, and that's something we have to get better at, of being more consistent at next season. And Gary, I think the transfer window now is going to be very important. At the end of this summer, we'll maybe be able to evaluate where Arsenal are in relation to City.
Yeah. Well, we've shown. You know what? The last 2 seasons should show enough information as to what's needed to compete and win the league. All right. The last 2 seasons we've shown what happens when you start strong, when you finish strong. Just so happens we haven't been able to put it together in the same season. All right.
Yeah.
The way we
Yeah.
finished the season, the way we finished the season this year, and the way we started it in the last season. You put those two together. You know what? You put those two together. You know, you could win something there. So Arteta needs to start strong, just because it's his city, all right? And just to win the games that are in front of you, not the. And you know what? That 3 game stretch with the quarters and Aston Villa game in the middle, he played each one of them like he's playing for the next game. He didn't play to win it. Like the way that, at least for me, I always feel like the way the teams came out, they didn't want to win any of those games. Like didn't seem like they were fighting enough to win any one of those games. All right, you win 2 of those games, you move on probably, and you win, and you may control control how the season ends. So yeah, those are like we went through. What is it? 9 game, 10 game stretch where he has to do something, and it was like it had been like in threes. All right, this time he had 3 game stretch where the season could have been so much different. Right?
Yeah, Bayern and Villa.
That 3 game stretch right there is a telling of the season. That's where we lost the opportunities to win trophies. All right?
Yeah.
And so
we definitely need this summer to look at our squad and not say we're at 17 strong, but we're 21 strong, we're 22 strong. We need to not look at our squad now and say we have players here who shouldn't be here or who we know are not going to be able to contribute to us. One of them is a perfect example, probably Fabio Vieira. He's had injuries, but can you put your hand on heart and say that he's really helped us and he can help us next season? I don't think so. We got players like Eddie Nketiah, maybe Nelson, even Emil Smith-Rowe. A player I'm willing to invest in for a little bit longer. Steven said the Foden call wasn't made because Oliver wasn't the ref. Yeah, 115 needs to be sorted before the next season starts. If it doesn't, then there is, like the last decade, no integrity, and the season means nothing. The other thing as well, and projecting into the summer, we have a European Championship coming along, and there's not going to be a lot of rest to go to a preseason for Arsenal and into a season. So it probably ties into my unwillingness to be part of a Community Shield as well. So let City and Man United take care of that Community Shield, and we'll quietly go about our business, Lawrence.
And also, Ray, there's a Copa America taking place as well.
Yeah. So, Gary, that points to the fact that we're going to need to have a more well-rounded squad, because some of these players could be coming back late and miss the first or even 2 games of the season. First 2 games of the season.
That's been our problem for the last 2 seasons, right? Depth.
Yep.
All right. Depth has been a problem, and if there are players we can bring in that aren't playing and competing in those competitions, then we should be, and then they're on our list. We should bring them in if we can. But we want to go out there and get, as they say, ceiling raisers, and the only way we can do that is probably get those players that are playing. So, but I think that just comes down to Arteta managing his squad to start the season. Maybe some players you don't start the opening game, right? He didn't start Gabriel Margalez, and did that make a difference in his form for the rest of the season? No. So You know what? We need, if he can do that there on our back line, which was that was our backbone, and that was how we made it through the season the way we did, then he should be able to do that anywhere on the pitch, right? I mean, I think that's what I saw. So we need depth, so we have players come in. Maybe they don't have to play 90 minutes every game, all right?
It's going to have to be like that, yeah.
And that's how you get through that. Because think about that, when City starts slow, why? Because their players are playing probably on international duty, You come
Yeah.
into the season, you start slow, but you're not losing, right? You're not losing. You might be winning by the skin of your teeth, but you don't care because you keep winning. That's the trick.
Yeah.
Is when you're struggling, you still win. Sorry about that, Lawrence.
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But
No.
so I've shelled out $330 for the Arsenal Man United friendly out here, and I'm going to see a bunch of kids play.
It's very possible, Lawrence. I mean, it's going to be late July, and the league starts on what, the 17th of August.
17th of August, yeah.
Yeah, but the Euros end in mid-July. So if a player goes to a final, and participates in the final, they probably won't be going to the America and to all of the games. They're going to need a couple of weeks, right? Those players right now, they're getting some rest. We see Odegaard and Havertz having some fun together with their partners as well. They're having some time together, recharging the batteries. But I'm not sure if Norway have qualified for the Euros.
No, they haven't. No,
They haven't. So then that's a nice. That's maybe some material for Thursday we can talk about as well. Who's going to get some rest and who's not going to get some rest for the Euros and into the new season.
I read that Mikel Arteta is going to put Fabio Vieira up for transfer because he's concerned about his levels in training.
I think so. Here's the thing. Here's my thoughts anyway. Well, I don't think we're going to be able to control exactly who gets sold. It's going to be a buyer's market, and if somebody wants Emile Smith-Rowe, then we can negotiate. We don't necessarily have to sell Emile Smith-Rowe, but we will want to generate funds, and Emile Smith-Rowe would generate more for us than Nelson would. Just real talk here, and. So we may face a prospect where Nelson is part of the squad next season, but Emile Smith-Rowe has been sold in order for us to generate some cash to maybe target Newcastle and those two players that they have that people are talking about. So it's going to be an interesting summer. I'm wondering what Gary's thoughts are on that as well. Are we going to get the valuations are we going to get decent valuations for some of our players? Selling has been an issue.
Well, hopefully for the ones that actually we should, like for example, for me, we should be able to get that for Ramsdale.
Yeah.
Most Rowe, I think once again we've done that. We've done it again, right? We've done it again, right?
Don't say devalued.
No. Well, we should have sold. No, to some degree, yeah, that's happened, but that's But we should. I would say they did not. They didn't want to take a risk letting him go, but they didn't really look at the long-term effects of what they were about to do, right? Like holding on to Emile Smith-Rowe when you could have sold him for 35 mil, right? I don't know. Sounds like it. Like same. It's not even that they've done this before. Maitland Miles, 35, 40, right? No, don't want to sell him. What do they do? Eventually, he walks for free. Like they keep doing the same things over and over again. And these are players that they don't trust. Like Emile Smith-Rowe, they can't trust his health, right?
Yeah.
Nelson, they can't trust his health. And Nketiah, they can't trust his consistency, right? They see it over and over again, and they still take the risk because of whatever reason, and they're going to lose out and they're going to walk for free. They've done, as far as I'm concerned, they've done the same thing again. Yeah, I don't know about devalue. When a player doesn't play for you, like he played 300 minutes, they hold on to him for what reason? Remember, like everybody was saying, oh, West Ham or Villa wanted Emile Smith-Rowe. Oh, we can't sell him. He's a fan favorite and all of that.
Yeah.
Where is he? Like to who though? The only person that matters really is Arteta, and if Arteta doesn't trust him,
making the decisions, yeah.
then why are we holding on to it doesn't work. It's at some point you got to let them go. Like City, let players go, right? They let Jesus Zinchenko go. They've
Cole
let lots
Palmer.
of players go. Cole Palmer. They let
Palmer.
Gundogan go. They
Yeah.
let Mahrez go. Right.
Yeah.
But the base is they've got a base still, right?
And I
You
wonder
just
what City are going to
you
do.
just come in and you replace, and they've been able to get something out of those players they brought in. Guardiola picked up late in the season, right? Took a bit of time, right?
Yeah, he
But
needed some time to
but he
adapt.
did
Yeah.
produce for them. So I kind of feel like when you've created a model in your club, it doesn't matter who you lose, because as long as you pick the right type of player coming in, they'll fit right in. Like Havertz would have fit right in if he came in and started playing up top. He might have been a little bit of slow on his finishing and whatnot, but in the long term, we wouldn't have he wouldn't have had more failures based on the way he played in the midfield. I mean, that's how I felt like that went.
Yeah.
They took no. I think
And
sometimes the easiest choice was to play him up top and not necessarily punish Jesus, but then sit Jesus, than
Yeah.
to punish the team and put him in the midfield. So
Yeah, and that's something we found toward the middle part of the season, I would say, with Kai Havertz. I was thinking about this as well, Gary. Balogun, we were talking about Balogun this time last year, and decision made to sell Balogun has proved correct, in my opinion. He hasn't really set the world alight either at Monaco. So, I think the club are making the right choices at the end of the day. Manchester United winning yesterday against City, for me, it's a good thing because, you don't want to see City being that dynasty winning everything. And I want to see their cycle come to an end at some point. Who knows if it's going to be on field or off field, it's going to happen. But Man United go into the Europa League. Chelsea and Newcastle drop out of contention. So I think Chelsea are in the conference,
Chelsea.
right?
No, United. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, you're right.
United are in the Europa, much like Arteta when he won the FA Cup. That was our only route into European competition. So they're in the Europa League, having finished 8th place with a negative goal difference and lost 14 games. Chelsea go into the Conference League, and Newcastle are a team that maybe Arsenal are interested in respect of picking up a player from there, So that's probably increased the likelihood of a Bruno coming to the Emirates or even an Isak. What do you think about that, Gary? Lawrence?
Be nice if we could get both of them. I doubt very much if Newcastle are willing to let them both come. We were linked with Isak before, so I'm all for that.
We've been linked with both players before. Maybe the newspapers.
Yeah.
I don't know how strong the links were, but the newspapers definitely had that interest in Bruno Guimaraes. I happen to feel it was a wages issue that he went to Newcastle with. I know Man City are in the running as well for Bruno, but also there's an Isak in there. Gary, maybe a little bit more unobtainable. Isak.
yeah, well, if the numbers starting at 200 are coming out of the woodwork, right, then it's probably not going to happen. But I think
200 for Isak or together?
200, I think, is
Wow.
kind of like they don't want to sell him at all. It sounds like, and based on that. So if they don't want to sell him, Grammage, like we expect them to sell one of them, right? We should be getting one of them, as far as I'm concerned, right?
Well, depends on City as well. I think we're going to be up
No,
against City.
no. City wanted Rice as well, right? And what happened?
The player has to be,
So there you go.
I know
So
what
it's
happened.
not. You brought up City, and it's not the City's choice. And I think Arsenal is trending in the way you want, and City, people are saying, are trending downwards, but can always return. But he'll be with a young team that's not getting older and older. Like we'll see. I kind of feel like Arsenal. Yeah, Arsenal is a good project, but there's got to be results. Got to be results, right? So I don't think they have
How
a
about
choice. Yeah.
how about Rashford? Are you interested in a Rashford? If United would sell,
No,
okay,
no.
all right. So we're thinking in different ways. Okay, I'm
I,
maybe not thinking.
I, there's a couple of things. One is like how much is it going to cost, but also I've always said I don't like projects. Havertz was a project,
Yeah,
right? I want players trending upwards, right?
yeah, yeah.
Trending upwards to me, like Timber and Rice. Players trending downward is Kai Havertz, and those just staying right the course is Raya, right? But we need players trending upwards so that we can build on it, right? We built on Rice. He looks better than he did the previous season. Timber, we'll see, but we feel like we definitely got him on the way up in terms of where he sits in the in the marketplace, right? So I think we need to build. We need to be able to bring players in that we can build on top of in terms of their value to our squad, right? So um, Rashford, we would have to reclimate that. It's a reclamation project in my eyes. He's going to mentally and physically get him back because he's going to have to do a lot more than he was asked to do
The United.
at Manchester United. That's what
Yeah,
players have to do, right?
yeah.
So will he do that? Is his mentality right for that? I mean, I think it's contagious. What you see when you come to Arsenal. So that might not be a problem, but we need like they want ceiling raises. He's not one, and for the price that they might have to pay for him, I'd rather get a Gramage, Grammares or Gramage, whatever how you say his name,
Bruno. Yeah,
because I think he would be a
Guimaraes.
Mars.
Yeah,
Guimaraes.
Grammares. I think he would bring. I think he would raise the ceiling for us, and I think that midfield would be solid.
I saw some people talk about Bruno in the sense that he's a liability. He could pick up a red card, but I feel we're a much more controlled possession team. That the times Bruno Guimaraes gets himself into trouble is when he's chasing the ball and he can't get the ball, and he has his tendency to get angry and foul that way and pick up yellow cards. You know what I mean? And with Arsenal, we would have much more of the ball, so that would be minimized. I realize we don't like the player right now as Arsenal fans, but
Yep.
if we would sign him, I don't think we would dislike him in time. You know what I mean?
He's a player you don't want to like. We all
Right.
probably hate Rodri as a fan, but if Rodri was to come to our team, would we say no? Right. So it's
Probably
like you
not.
know what.
Yeah.
That's more. That's the more the case of it is. He's confident in the way he plays. He plays a little bit on the edge, but we need to bring in those types of players because we're missing some of that. Like the Ben White, you know, tomfoolery. Some people would say that kind of like, and then like you see him, he's really like the look he gives, the team and stuff. We're all like giggling and laughing about that, and then Gramage does it to us, and we hate it.
Yeah.
Just comes out there and just basically punches one of our players in the face, and
Yeah.
we're like, what?
Yeah.
And nothing happens, right? Does
If
it
he can-
again?
if
Nothing
he did-
happens, right?
If he did that as an Arsenal player this coming season, I think we'd be laughing about it, but we'd have to. It would be hard to defend it realistically as well, right?
No,
he
it's
is a
our
bit of a
player. We're
dick,
backing
but-
up our player. Like Havertz does it. Well, is anybody? That was when he finally came out of his shell a little bit in that Newcastle game, right?
Yeah,
He
we
comes
like
out
that.
Comes out of
Yeah.
his shell. Everybody's like, if this is the way he wants to play, I'll take it. But don't do it for show, right? I don't want to. Don't make a show. Showman. Don't be a showman. Just go out there and play your ball. This is how you play. Perfect. All right. I didn't really like it because I'm like you're begging for a yellow, but I think he plays on the edge.
Yeah.
And that's kind of if that's good, then that's what we want, right? So
Yeah. We're gonna wind up in a few minutes unless you, Gary, have something to add to the table, or Lawrence, anything we didn't talk about. But I want to mention a couple of things scrolling through my timeline, and I realize it is silly season. Okay, so take that what you make of it. Take of that what you will. There's mention that Ethan Waneri will be integrated into the squad next season. a 17-year-old. He will get some games. And I talked about our squad. 7 or 8 players need moving on. I don't think we're going to get 7 or 8 players transferred into the Emirates, but we might be able to promote an academy player too. What do you think about Ethan Waneri? And he got a few minutes this season, Gary.
Yeah, not enough. So for me, it was cool and all, but no, not enough. He needed more. Right? He needs more.
Token.
I just no, I didn't. I don't think they gave him any minutes, according like the minutes that legitimate minutes that he can build on. All right. So
Well, when we were, I know he came on against West Ham when we were winning 4 or 5-0 at their stadium. You know, a couple of things.
I don't
think that
remember. You know what? That's funny. I don't even remember him playing in that.
he played
that
quite
game.
well. So if you have the ability,
Yeah.
go back and
I
check
remember
that.
I remember in the preseason he played, and I was like, cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't remember him playing those 14 minutes, but I kind of felt like he need like when we were winning 4-5-0 at half
Yeah.
in the Champions League, and we didn't play one academy player. What? You brought 3.
Yeah.
You brought 3 academy players on a Champions League trip. You go up 4-5-0, and not one of them saw the field. At least 2 of them should have. He went up 5.
Yeah.
He scored again in the second half.
Right.
This is what I was going to bring up. I don't want to see kids in the first team if they're not going to be given the opportunity. If you're going to blood some of the kids into the first team, then fucking play them. Whether it's a Carabao Cup game, FA Cup game, play them. Don't let them take up spots on the bench if you're not going to play them.
Yeah. We're going to have to be in that situation. Gary's right. Go for all 4 competitions, but you need to have a squad that you can bring players in, bring players out, and still have a competitive team that can play Birmingham, away at Birmingham in the FA Cup. You know, they can play Southampton in the Carabao Cup, whatever. The other thing I'm seeing on my timeline is rumors that Pep Guardiola will step down at the end of next season. Next summer, he will step down, and that probably ties in with the charges. I hate to be controversial and try to link 115 charges being dealt with from October to June, but it does look like Pep Guardiola is going to leave when that verdict comes down at the end of June, and probably be gone just before that happens. But again, it's just my timeline. I don't know if you're seeing any of that, Gary or Lawrence, but what do you think about Pep? And I'd like to beat him. I'd like to beat him in a season, next season. I'd like to beat City to the title.
Yeah. Well, I'm a firm believer of that saying, what comes around goes around. And if they're found guilty, I want to see them kicked out of the league altogether, not just the Premier League, the EFL, because they've cheated. You know, there was a Scottish club, Rangers. They got relegated from the Premier League down to the Scottish Third Division for doing something similar, and that's the least City should get if they're found guilty of all these charges.
No, like you said, if these are legitimate charges and all of that, they have to go, right? They have to go. I mean, like I said, they're wasting our time, and they are punishing the rest of the league. They're punishing English football in general, right? I mean, they're punishing English football. I mean, nobody's getting what they want out of it, like some good just football, right?
I mean, if they don't charge them, then I think the other 19 Premier League teams should gang up together and say, we're not going to play Man City.
Mm-hmm.
Boycott them.
Yeah, they definitely need to stand up. They definitely need to stand up to the league and say, look, do your job. But you know what? There are probably 2 or 3 teams that are kind of like what City's doing, and we can do that as well, right? That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's like, there's like 2 or 3 teams, and then there are teams that are happy to be there, and they don't want to mess up things, right? So then, if like 60-70% of the teams say, nah, we don't like this change, like I don't understand how the league can just go in there and change rules, and then the teams could get punished by the league not performing, not doing it, with no action from the league, and be okay with it. I mean, makes no sense, right?
Steven
Yeah,
says,
but you can't have one rule for one and another rule for someone else. It's got to be a level playing field.
True.
Yeah. Steven said he's surprised that Pep is not leaving this summer. Put as much distance between himself and City before the shite hits the fan. Indeed.
Yeah.
He can always claim that he didn't know about these things, but that's just a claim. And look, Mikel Arteta he's not going to beat them with that stick because he was part of that organization as well. So Mikel Arteta is going to try and beat them on the field in the best way that we can do it. And it means an exciting summer, Gary, hopefully, where we can talk about players coming in.
I hope so, yes. And hopefully we get at least one soon before Euros and Copa America start up, right? I mean, we need a lot of players on the way out. We need some good players to come in. So hopefully they're doing their job and getting that done, because I think at least one player needs to come in. A big player needs to come in before that's going to be a contributor. And then we need to, because I think Arteta says he wants to have all his players ready. For when Lawrence,
when we go to America.
So if the goal is Lawrence gets to at least see some of those
players,
see all the players that we brought in dressed in red,
he might be happy.
Then
Who
you know
knows?
what? Then they should do that.
Well, for $330, I don't want to see Joe Blow and someone I've never heard of. I mean, I'd like to see some star players come
listen,
out.
You will see some.
I'm even willing to see Tony in an Arsenal shirt.
Oh,
Tony Turner.
I don't think any. Yeah, I don't know which Tony you're talking about, but yeah. Either I think either one, Tony or Tony, depending on which one you think I'm talking about. I think not this season. Not this season. Tony from Oklahoma, probably not this season. Maybe in another season when we're a lot stronger. And Tony
Gary,
from Brentford, maybe.
I
think Tony from Brentford. I think I would have taken him if they were able to get him before he in the first half of the season, before his punishment was before he finished the terms of his punishment, right?
Yeah.
But now I think he's been sitting out, and you know what, you can get better and you can get better and younger, essentially, just not experience.
The news is breaking, and Alonso sees it on his timeline as well. Old Pep is going to leave 115 Counts FC after next season. So, Alonso, let's beat him on the field. Jurgen Klopp left because of the stress, the workaholic. What do you call it? The emotional that he put into trying to take on City for 8 years. I don't really understand why Klopp is left, but we'll see what happens when he does. Lawrence is just ready to get in with a jibe about our Ray and Liverpool. So go ahead, Lawrence, if you want.
Where's your Army slot shirt?
It's on the back. I'm just joking. But yeah, Pep is leaving, and let's see what happens. Anything else, Gary? I think we'll leave it there. I got one thing for you, Gary. Before you arrived, there was a comment here from Reddy. We need to get Tony and Gary and one of those coaches from Plymouth to Newcastle, a real road trip. That would be. How would that go, Gary? 5 hours with Tony?
No.
You would be asking Tony, "Hey Tony, are you going to Newcastle?" You know, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I'll be there, Gary." And then you just go in a car rather
Yes.
than the coach.
Yeah. Tony. Yes.
All right. So when is your next show? Memorial Day is tomorrow.
Yeah, more
Are
days
you-
tomorrow, but I think the show will go on. I plan to attend, but I might have some things. It is a birthday weekend over here in the house. So
So
might
happy birthday.
yes, yeah, not to
Right.
me, but to one of my kids.
We
So
don't need them, Gary. The age we are, we don't need them.
I stopped counting. 39. The last time it mattered was 39.
You look good for 39, Gary.
Thanks. There's no reason to count anymore, right? It's all downhill anyways, right? All you do is
Um,
counting towards the end. I don't want to count towards the end. I don't like ends.
Gary, there are Arsenal things on our bucket list. There are
For sure.
Arsenal things on our bucket list. Lawrence, you might agree as well. Want to see a Champions League? Want
Yeah.
to see
He wants to see something. He wants to see it again, right?
Yeah.
two Premier Leagues, maybe two Premier Leagues to beat what Klopp did, and a few cups. Throw a few cups
I
in there.
just want to relive 35 years ago because I've got to mention, and this is the final memory I'm going to leave you with. After the party, when they paraded the trophy at Islington Town Hall, me and my mate jumped into the back of a van. We didn't know where the fuck we were going. We got kidnapped and we ended up at Trafalgar Square with 10,000 gooners partying in the fountains to celebrate that league title. That's the best weekend I've had from Friday when we won the league up until Monday.
Nice.
And Gary, we know Arsenal recently had put some. You have to plan. We planned for it on the final day of the season. We planned for a carnival atmosphere, celebrating winning the league for the first time in 20 seasons. But hopefully, the plans are just put on hold for 12 months
Yes.
now.
Well, now they know what it entails, right?
Yeah.
They can do things better and have things ready to go. So it was a test run. Now they actually have to go and make sure like they're not necessarily planning anymore. They know it's about to happen. All right, that's kind of what we want to be going into the last game of the season. That it's going to happen. So just be there.
So Gary, think very carefully about your pinned comment on your Twitter.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I was actually working on it, and it's funny because the 4 predictions I put out, we overachieved on 2 of them and we underachieved on 2 of them. Right. So yeah. So the ones we underachieved, as you know, would be the domestic cups, and the ones that we actually succeeded in were the Premier League and the Champions League. So we need to be achieving, doing better going forward. Winning a trophy offsets all of my predictions. So that's the trick to this whole thing. Like we need to start consistently being part of finals and winning trophies at the end of the season. However we do that. So yeah, that's yeah. So I want to put a video out going over my predictions and whatnot and what I see going forward. Because I think everybody going forward for the next season is expecting us to win trophies. But for me, I'll let you know, we don't necessarily have to win a trophy next season for it to be progress and go in the right direction. So
no,
but we need to we need to have certain things like based on where we've come from.
I think it's time to win a trophy, Gary. I think it's time to win a trophy.
No, yeah, I know, but
4 years without a trophy.
It's not. It's 4 years. It's Arteta's first 4 years of his career. If I told you your first 4 years of your career doing whatever, you're going to finish tops, it would be a challenge, and it is a challenge for him. So I think we're looking at 4 years of Arsenal, but it's also 4 years of Arteta, 4 years of Edu. That's the problem that Arsenal has, is that they don't have experience in those situations. So you're asking them to do things that nobody's done, and then complaining when they fail.
Look, it's early. We can revisit this conversation in the weekend before August 17th.
Yeah.
And we'll know what players we have in the house. We'll know what players have left the house.
True.
And we'll see. We'll have a better idea of the football landscape. On Thursday, we'll probably talk about the football landscape as the Premier League has ended right now. Go through each club and see where we're at. A couple of other things. There might be some signings, Gary Lawrence, because one thing Arteta has done is he has sped up the transfer windows for us and not wanting to wait till the last weeks, which something Arsene Wenger did notoriously.
They're always a season behind. This is what
It's
we wanted.
But it seems that way because we are accelerating so much.
No. But you've seen the trend going on, and you're still slow. Like all of this starting slow, and then getting into the season where you're still bringing in players, and they need time to acclimate to the squad. It's been a problem from day one. All right. You bring in Raya, you bring him in right before the season, whatever. But then you're asking him to get vetted into a squad, and then look, it takes a bit of time before he settles, right? So that's why you need to bring the players in yesterday, not after the season has started.
I think all players. It's not just Arsenal, but it's because we are Arsenal fans. We see it with Arsenal, but Gvardiol took half a season to adjust as well with Man City. In a way, you know what I mean? And Man City have some. Nunez hasn't even really played for them. £100 million for them. I guess we'll talk. Paqueta may not be coming to City now.
He might not be coming to any team soon, right?
Yeah, Paqueta's off the shopping list. Yeah. He's been withdrawn from the shelves. Steven said, "I'm not holding my breath for next season." Between 115 and having a keeper that was responsible for 29% of the goals he conceded through his mistakes, that's an improbable task. Stephen, you're still banging the drum about David Raya. Come on.
I am a fan of Raya, but he is not that much better than Ramsdale. They both have their flaws.
Little bit.
No, they both have their flaws.
Little bit better.
Ramsdale's a better shot stopper. Raya is a better player with his feet, with the ball at his feet, and starting the attack. I mean, you take your pros and cons how you want them, but they both have situations, and Raya is not being able to stop shots. Basically, we saw what happens there, right? I mean, he didn't even give up a goal. It was a deflected ball off of Rice that went in. But if you look at where he wasn't getting there.
I'm gonna have to check that. You said that twice.
Yes, and I looked at the replay, and you can see it. They show it from behind the goal. He barely moved.
I need more things to fight with Gary about. It's been too calm lately.
No. Raya and Ramsdale, they both don't. They're not answers. They just create. They're not the answer because they create another question. Like Rice, what question does he create for us? None. All right. Or none. So
the one thing with Rice is we need to settle in. Rice is either a left 8 or a number 6. I don't
But he doesn't have questions on his We know how to get the best out of him. Where the team will succeed with him at starting. Raya, we've seen where he kind of messes up, and we've seen Ramsdale where he messes up. We need somebody with less problems. Like you want somebody who's good at shot stopping and good at playing out from the back, right? As opposed to really good at playing out from the back or really good shot stopper, because we need a happy medium. All right.
Maybe because our defense has been so good. Yeah. I don't actually remember Raya coming up with a clutch save, but he has claimed.
He's made some good saves, but like I said, there's been cases where he's put himself in a bad situation and then gets punished for it. He's not come out and punch balls away. And guess what? I think the Newcastle game is one where some will say that goal happens because he doesn't do his job, right?
What about the goal he let in against Chelsea when Mudryk scored from
That was a fluke.
cross?
Every goalkeeper,
yeah, nobody believes that was actually a shot.
every goalkeeper can be caught out by
Yeah.
an unintentional cross. Look what Ben White did to
No,
Chelsea.
Ramsdale would have saved that.
All right, look what Ben
Oh,
White
but
did to
Ramsdale would have
Chelsea.
rolled it to the Chelsea player later in the game. So
He did that.
you lose either way, right? So like I said, they
Yeah.
both have they have their cons, right? They have
Yeah.
their pros and their cons, and they were not getting better because of it, right?
We
Like Rayer has to be better shot stopper. Coming out and crossing balls, he's been, they said he's done really well at that. But then you see other times not so much. You're like, okay. So
Lawrence, Mudryk did it well. Mudryk did it well, but Ben White did it better in the return game. If you remember that last goal,
Yeah,
Right.
I know.
that was meant to be.
but you're
crossed
not
as well.
you're not saying anything about Ben White's goal. Why is that? Why is that? Why is that? Tell me why you're not.
It went in
mentioning
our
that.
ledger. It went in our
Oh,
four.
see.
It was
Yeah.
on the right side of the ledger. Scrooge here is
You brought up
counting.
Mudryk's goal against us as opposed to, come on. And so you're belittling your goalkeeper because of some luck on the other side. Come on, dude.
I'm
All right, listen.
substituting for Tony.
Yeah.
I'm when Man United win, I'm happy that they beat City, but when Man United win a
No,
trophy,
Ray. All right, no.
I'm conflicted.
No, we don't like other teams winning anything ever.
I like
But
City.
we love
I
teams
like Pep.
losing. Ray, we love teams losing. So let's try this again. What did you like about that FA Cup?
Nothing.
No, you loved that City lost.
Yes.
That put joy into
Right.
your heart, right?
I'll praise every time Pep.
No, you don't praise anything, but you love the loss. All right.
Every time Pep reaches for a bottle of water, that means bad things for City.
There you go, and that makes you smile.
I want Pep to hydrate very often.
Yes.
Next
You want
season.
him kicking bottles and all that stuff, right?
Yes.
That's what you want.
The FA charging him for disrepute.
There you go. See, that's what you want. Yeah. No,
all right.
I'm not cheering for anybody to win, except for my team.
Next season, it's all Arsenal, Gary. We're winning all four.
All four. We're gonna go undefeated. That's the goal, right? The goal is go undefeated, and we'll see how it works out, right?
All right. I'm gonna get out of here. Enjoy the rest of this day.
Mm-hmm.
Lawrence, thanks for being here. We went through 35 years ago. We talked about 20 years ago. We talked about 4 years ago. And we talked about Pep possibly leaving a year from now. But let's beat him next season. We beat Klopp. Don't let a Liverpool fan tell you we couldn't beat Klopp. We beat Klopp in the league twice. I'm conflicted because we had a lot of good days this season. We had a lot of wins in our ledger. And just because a team puts together 5 or 6 wins, they get to get a trophy. Well, that's how it works. That's how the league is constructed. We hope next season that Leeds and Arsenal fans are happy next season. But we have to wait. They make us wait, Gary. Arsenal make us wait.
Yep. Hopefully they don't waste the trip, and they bring in some good players come next season.
And you will be having a show tomorrow, right, Gary?
Yeah, the show will be on tomorrow. We'll have a panel up no matter what.
All right.
So.
All right. Cool. Thanks for being here, everybody. I hope you enjoyed watching live and on the playback. Until next time, we are out of here. Thanks for being here, and thanks for being here through the whole year as well. We'll do stuff through this summer and hopefully talk about Kylian Mbappe joining Arsenal. It wasn't much fun for Martin Brundle as an interview if you watched the Formula One earlier, but we'd like to see him doing his speaking on the field for Arsenal. Anyway, we can dream, right? Take care. See ya.